at all.
I think the forecast for later in the afternoon was quite reasonable, actually, Ben, so hopefully it will turn out like that.
Well, yes, indeed, and certainly, yes, Brett D'Oliveira coming on, and how exciting it will be to see Brett bowl, actually. I'm a big fan of the D'Oliveira clan, of course, Basil D'Oliveira. I've watched lots of old film of him from days gone by. I remember having a John Arlott video all about, long out of print now, but all about the greats of the game, and there was a lot of footage of D'Oliveira on there, and it was made fascinating watching, and must be a help as much as a hindrance being a descendant of such a great in the game, in a sense. But he looks very young and boyish, and he's just spinning the ball from hand to hand now as he comes in past the umpire, hop and a skip, and that's quite short and played back on the onside, leg side, up to mid-on for a quick single by Compton.
Interesting one there, Ben. We had one great-grandson bowling to another great-grandson.
Yes, yeah. Great-grandsons of greats. It's too many greats for one sentence, really. There.
Well, actually, grandsons, yeah. Great players, grandsons, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Quite.
Yeah.
But yes, no, it's, D'Oliveira to Compton. Gosh, it doesn't get more... well, what's the word? Legacy than that. It's
absolutely right.
Extraordinary. I mean, both Compton, wonderful player, of course, the original Brill Cream boy, a fascinating character, very ahead of his time. Anyway, D'Oliveira's in now, and that's swept away nicely by Trescothick for a single down to fine leg. And he just jogs that through casually. But, yes, this match, as I say, I was here for the Kartik incident, and that was an extraordinary afternoon's play, and the last few games I've commentated on have been tremendous action, and let's see what happens this afternoon. Somerset will be hoping for more of the same, these two playing really well as D'Oliveira kind of hops and bowls, and that's played correctly and nicely by Compton for no run. And D'Oliveira here with a mid-off and a mid-on, a cover, a point, a square leg, fine leg, mid-wicket, comes in again, bowls, and that's on Midland leg and played nicely back by Compton, sort of smothering the spin. And D'Oliveira, very short run-up, and just sort of hops and skips at the last moment.
It doesn't look as though he's using a vast amount of energy.
No. Anyway, he comes in again and bowls, and that's short and played back and pulled round the corner by Compton for a single down to square leg, and that keeps the scoreboard ticking, which is now gone on to 230 for 109 to Trescothick, Compton on 39. Somerset looking to wrap this game up, you would suggest, in such a strong position as they are, and Trescothick gets ready again, faces D'Oliveira and sweeps it again past a kind of leg slip, really, who is waiting there expectantly for that sweep. I think probably with the hope of getting an inside edge, perhaps ballooning up off of the pad. But no such luck happens for him, and it goes ricocheting away, and that's the end of the over. As yes, that was Moeen Ali, I believe, who was a leg slip and now is moving across. Distinctive features, very reminiscent of Hashim Amla, the distinctive beard there, and Pinner. Now we've got two spinners on after lunch now, and Pinner is now getting ready. Just the one slip, who's Mitchell, and Cox, the wicketkeeper, bends down and waits, and that's flighted outside off stump, played up to cover by Trescothick for no run. Trescothick just finding his feet after lunch, went for a rather risky run before lunch, could have very easily got run out, but it missed, thankfully, and he's still with us as that's outside off stump, played down in front of him, out into the covers again. Compton went for that run before lunch, and it was a bit of a suicide run, but thankfully he survived that one. Trescothick hit a lovely four as well that nearly went for six over mid-wicket before lunch, and that's on off stump and played down in front of him. So Worcestershire having a lot of batting woes in this match. Somerset showing really how to make best of this wicket, and they must be ruining Abdur Rahman, Worcestershire. What a bowling performance that was. I was rather gutted he didn't get the full 10, as that one is kind of yorked, almost yorked himself there. Trescothick coming down the wicket, went to sort of try and force the pace, hit it over the top, but in the end it just got jabbed out was fielded by the bowler. There's a mid-off and a mid-on, a cover, a backward point, just the one slip, a mid-wicket who walks in now as that's flighted and that's driven well through the covers, and they're going to take one, just the one. And a trickle of applause breaks out as a result. The clouds over the Quantocks just coming over now a little bit. Hopefully they'll blow away. The forecast was supposed to be for a bit of rain this afternoon, but thankfully it's keeping away. So fingers crossed as Compton just looks across to square leg and assesses the field. There's a mid-off and there's a mid-on that's right back on the boundary under the Surrey and Botham stand, perhaps waiting for a lofted drive as Pinner's in again, and that's jammed again, kind of yorked himself again, trying to drive that Compton, but on this occasion, but it kind of goes into the pitch and dribbles back for no run. That's the end of the over. So the sun comes out as a result, and yes, this match live from Taunton. Lovely scene it is here today, this county championship game, and it's always sad when it's the last match of a season. Always a privilege to be here at any county championship game. It's the form of the game really for me, and 232 for one it is. 111 to Trescothick. If David Shepherd was here, he'd be hopping around. But to describe the next over, it's back over to yourself, Chris.
Thank you, Ben. They take 2 runs there, which takes Somerset on to 243 for one. That's a very handsome score, Ben, isn't it?
It is. It's a fine sight from a Somerset perspective yet again, and Julian Catternack doing an excellent job there with his our commentating colleague.
Yeah, he seems to be quite brisk this afternoon.
Yes, very much
you
so.
can see him there. He's going to lose a few pounds over there, I think.
Yeah, no distractions around him. I was sat near him before lunch, distracting him.
Pinner in again to Marcus Trescothick. Marcus plays forward defensively this time and pushes it back to Neil Pinner.
Yeah, I remember seeing Nick Compton play at Lords actually when he was with Middlesex, and I used to think, I wonder if that is a confidence builder, seeing a stand named after your grandfather or not. It's kind of...
I wonder about things like that. There's always that expectancy, isn't there?
Yeah, it was like with Liam Botham. I mean, when Liam made a good start to his cricket career, I think everyone was sort of on his back, and obviously decided the rugby as a result, I suppose, because of that added pressure.
Pinner to Marcus. Defensively plays forward. No run there. End of the over.
Compton's just signalling for something. Can't be a drink, I wouldn't have thought. Not quite hot enough. I think he's getting some new gloves sorted out, I think.
Looks very much like that to me, Ben.
Of course, kit these days, it can go for a mini fortune.
Absolutely. The fair point there.
But Richardson's been bowling pretty well, hasn't he, I think?
He has. But then, as we were saying just now, Ben, the scoring's been pretty restricted today, hasn't it? So I suppose all the bowlers have done pretty well. Richardson certainly did. Ali did very well too.
Yeah, I was impressed by Richardson this morning. Another good over. Very economical stuff, but lacks a bit of bite, you could argue. So, as I say, the clouds coming in, you'd suggest perhaps putting on a kind of swing bowler or someone that can get something out of these conditions, because it might swing around a bit. I mean, the light isn't too bad. The umpires are just having a quick conflab about that. I'm not sure what's happening, and there's some clapping of non-complanetary on this occasion. When I was last here in the Cartick incident, I remember a few claps from that direction. I just looked over my shoulder there with fear for a second, but it's okay. Nothing's happening strange today. But yes, there was a little clap there, probably just to say thank you for not, taking them off or anything like that. The umpires were carrying on, but Mo and Ali, is that coming on now?
From the River End.
From the River End. So obviously, perhaps there's a fear of bringing on a paceman because of the light. Could be an issue, maybe. But
it's Ali coming back on from the River End to Marcus Trescothick. He's bowling very unequal.
Yeah, 23 overs, 5 maidens, 1 for 57. Mo and Ali, actually. So yes, it's.
I think most of those were yesterday.
Yeah.
runs, I mean. Ali again to Trescothick.
Only going at 2.5 and over as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Trescothick playing that down there. Yeah, so good economical stuff, but it's quite a short mid-wicket there as well, isn't there? Quite
Indeed.
Cover.
Ali into Trescothick, who tucks that one nicely around past the slips, and that's the close. Ben, see if you can get a wicket or something. We don't exactly look like there's going to be one, but not that we want one, of course. It's
well, no, it's one of those situations that are kind of ideal for Somerset, almost too ideal. And from a Worcester point of view, there were encouraging signs in that last over from Ali in terms of there being quite a short cover. There was a leg slip, there was a city point, there was some adventurousness in terms of field placings to try and make something happen. There's quite a short cover. Maybe the fast men being kept off by the light, I'm not sure. But anyway, D'Oliveira's in again, and that's outside off stump, driven by Trescothick, who just trots through for a quick single. No trouble at all there. And yes, at least there was some adventurousness in the field placings, but from Worcester's point of view, they probably really need to have a good think about what their strategy is going to be to try and make something happen, because these two looking very, very comfortable.
They are looking comfortable.
Just one slip, quite a short cover. D'Oliveira in, spins that through the air, and that is driven away by Compton, but gets a sort of slight outside edge of the bat and takes a quick single, kind of skewed past that short cover, and one slip towards backward point, who's quite deep, going back to the boundary now, so sort of becoming almost a wide third man. But got quite a long off. That's quite far out. Russell down here, got a cover as well, as Trescothick waits with a leg slip now in around the corner, and that's on middle and leg and played out to mid-wicket. As I say, that keeper there, Worcestershire keeper, just standing up with his helmet on, as will always be the case, of course, since Boucher's dreadful injury. As Trescothick comes down the wicket, plays it up to long on for a leisurely taken single. D'Oliveira just waits for the return catch and takes it from Russell down here on the boundary. And the ground about nearly half full today. Quite a nice turnout. Kind of end of season, end of term feel to things. It's another year gone, and it's been a memorable summer in a lot of ways. Compton, of course, had such a prolific time of it, quite extraordinary. As D'Oliveira bowls, and that's short, and it's pulled round the corner down to the boundary where it's misfielded, and it pops off of his boot and threatens to go for 4, but he rushes in a return throw that was pretty good, and there was just for a second maybe a thought of a run out, but not so, thankfully, and the score goes on to 249 for 1, Compton on to 42, and Trescothick on to 125. And there's Moeen Ali at just polishing the ball at cover, fairly shortish cover position. We've got a man around the corner there at square leg as well, who looks expectantly as D'Oliveira bowls on middle and leg and played off the back foot, back down the wicket towards D'Oliveira, who picks up the ball, and that's the end of the over. So nice, tidy, economical stuff from these spinners after lunch. Not quite. Well, there's not really been any chances, no real beatings of the bat or anything like that. There was that run-out chance before lunch. Trescothick could have so easily have lost his wicket just before lunch, which would have been a great shame, but that wasn't to be. He had a lovely stroke near the old scoreboard before lunch, did Trescothick, that threatened to go for 6, but over mid-wicket. And but not a prolific day for runs so far. But not the wickets that Worcester would want, as Moeen Ali now comes in and bowls, and that's quite a quicker, flatter one, but played back off the back foot by Trescothick back to Ali, and there's no run. Compton just practising his stance there while he was backing up there unusually, but just the one slip, mid-wicket again, man round the corner, kind of leg slip as it's played away by Trescothick down towards square leg for a single. Actually, that is a square leg, and That takes the score to 250, so that's 250 for 1 now, and Trescothick goes on to 126 as the sun comes out and bathes the ground now. It's a lovely scene.
And our second batting point, Ben.
Yes, thank you, well, for mentioning that. Leg slip now comes in, crowding Compton a bit as that's on middle and leg and played to... well, he went to throw the stumps down, really, the fielder there at square leg, but missed. But thankfully, first slip ran across and retrieved the ball. There was one slip, a leg slip, and a square leg who waits expectantly, and that's reverse swept and swept well. That's going to go for 4 runs, I think it is.
Definitely 4.
Looked extraordinary from here. The Compton stroke there, he kind of brought the bat down in a arc, whipped the ball round the corner, but there's no fielders down there, and it was safe as houses and went for 4 runs. If he'd missed it, it would have been one hell of a LBW shout. And Ali probably won't be put off by that kind of adventurousness. But with the slip there, if there was a miscue or something like that, it could be potentially dangerous. But it was hit right in the middle of the bat and went sailing down to the boundary for 4 runs. As Ali comes in and Compton comes down the wicket and goes to drive it back, but doesn't get it past Ali, who fields it well. And there's no run again. Mid-off, mid-on, no longer the long on that there was. As mid-wicket, square leg, backward point as Ali's in again, and that's ballooned up, nearly a catch, but no, it just falls in front of square leg. I just think he got perhaps a tickle onto that one. Went into his pad and bubbled up, but survives. So that was interesting over from Ali, making a few things happen, though he got hit for 4. He won't be discouraged by that. There was some few, not false strokes, but a kind of adventurousness shown, or that might encourage him. It was quite a good over.
Yeah.
As we wait again for D'Oliveira, quite a lithe, quite a short chap, about perhaps 5 foot, perhaps 5'5", something like that, as he flicks the ball from hand to hand and comes in again. That hop and bowls, and that's down the leg side though, and played round the corner down to square leg by Trescothick, who just trots through. And the afternoon carries on as the morning promised, really. A nice, happy ticking over of the score, really, by Somerset. No great challenges, no great worries. Just the one slip. There's a mid-off, mid-on. And he hopped, skips and a jumped from D'Oliveira and played back nicely played out into the covers, really, by Compton. Off of the back foot for no run. And Compton waits again. Lovely correct stance, very Jack Callis-like, as he waits and plays that nicely. Nice forward defensive. And of course, interesting time for Compton in the next few months. Let's see if he's picked for India, of course. That will be an extraordinary thing for him, really. It really will. I've often wondered why it hasn't been considered more in the past as D'Oliveira bowls, and that's kind of on middle and leg, but he kind of gets the outside face of the bat on it only, and it kind of trickles out. It's retrieved by the keeper. And yes, be great loss for Somerset, but perhaps induced partly by the Strauss and Peterson scenarios for England, as that's on middle and leg and played out to mid-wicket, who runs across and retrieves that mightily quickly and makes sure that no runs are taken as a result. As D'Oliveira comes in again and bowls, and that's flighted up on middle and leg and played nicely down for no run. So that's the end of the over. So tidy stuff, but nothing really from a Worcester point of view happening, and from Somerset's point of view, it's lovely progress, really. These two playing very fluently, without really many troubles.
Sort of gentle progress,
yes.
Ben, but the lead's building all the time. I mean, what are they now? They're 43 ahead. And I'm sure, providing we don't have any weather breaks, there'll be quite a build-up of pace as the afternoon continues. Weather forecast here is quite reasonable for the latter part of the afternoon, I believe.
Oh, I'm pleased.
Have you heard anything different?
No, that's a great relief, and I'm more than willing to believe you, because many a time, whenever I seem to read a weather report, they're wrong. So in this case, I'm hoping it's wrong. But Moeen Ali in again and bowls, and that's again on middle and leg and played with regulatory precision and the preciseness by Trescothick, that much used, and Battervies, that endlessly assured forward defensive that Somerset fans have got to know so well over the years. And that short outside off stump, and he cuts nicely down to the boundary for a single there. Nothing too exciting from that shot, but it was a nice stroke. Again, all the time in the world to play it. He just practices his strokes at the opposite end and imagines hitting it a lot harder.
44 runs ahead, Ben, with 9 wickets standing. That's an enviable place to be in.
It is, yeah. Luxury, really.
Yeah.
Anyway, the field crowd round Compton, they seem to be trying to attack Compton as that leg slip again comes in every time. First slip and the short leg. And anyway, Compton went back and played that round onto the leg side off of his pads, but there was no run as Ali comes in. There's quite a crowded... Oh, and he comes down the pitch and plays that over the top. That's a beautiful stroke. Lofted, and that's gone for 6. Magnificent stroke. Came down the wicket and goes to his 50 as a result in style. Went a beautiful lofted straight drive down the ground over long on for 6 runs. And I was just saying that the leg side field was a little bit crowded for him, and there's lots of expectant fielders there trying to induce a mistake. Hearts might have been in their mouths as he came down the wicket, but there was no danger to that stroke. One of the safest strokes you can play, in contrast to perhaps the reverse sweep in the last over. But he hit that sweetly and beautifully, as hopefully those listening could hear, because it made a lovely sound off the bat. As Ali comes in again and bowls, and that's better delivery, flatter ball on middle and leg, and played up to mid-on for mid-wicket, just on a short mid-wicket for no run. It's a long on now, he's gone back, and it's as if they've thought, why didn't we keep that position? But I don't think he could have been caught that straight drive. It was a good 6, as the next one is played back to the bowler by Compton for no run. And that's the end of the over. So at the end of the over, it's 262 for 1, 128 to Trescothick, and Compton on 52, and 5 fours in that 50 by Compton. He's played really, really well, and 5 fours, 1 6, 129 balls. Trescothick 16 fours and no sixes in his innings. As I say, the nearest he came to one was a lovely lofted kind of pull off the back foot over mid-wicket before lunch. But to describe the next over, it's back over to yourself, Chris.
Thank you, Ben. I think we're having a bowling change at the All Pavilion end. Who's coming on?
And it was played beautifully. Just relaxed in the stroke, went with it, and was really no trouble at all. Really, very easily played.
That nice, satisfying thud against the boundary fence there, just beneath us.
Yeah, it made a real kaplunk into the boundary boards. And what was nice about that is he played it almost in slow motion. He sort of went back and late cut it, but it was played with such a deftness of touch. Real touch player is Trescothick, and that's a quicker one outside the off stump, which Trescothick leaves alone. And there's no run, and there's a few oohs and ahs from the crowd because that delivery was quite pacey from Russell, perhaps a little bit of annoyance in that, and it was quite close to the off stump as well. But all's well for Trescothick, who kicks the popping crease. And but yes, that stroke, that late cut, was just dabbed wide of Mitchell at second slip nicely. No danger to it. Beautifully played, and there's no chance of it being saved on the boundaries. That's another short one which that beats Trescothick. He went back to play a similar stroke to that late cut, but didn't make contact, went past the inside edge and kind of swung in the air quite late to the keeper Cox, who managed to stop the ball quite well there, because it was just kind of homing in on his feet, a la a kind of Wakar Yunis style late swing Yorker or something, and you thought for a horrible minute it was going to go through his legs for overthrows, or well, not for overthrows, but just for extras. Anyway, Russell is in again and bowls, and that's edged past second slip for 4 runs. Well, it looked edged to me.
Yep.
It was an attempt at a nice late cut again, but it was not quite, it wasn't as convincing, and that was the nearest that Worcestershire have come to a wicket in this post-lunch session, and Mitchell knows it and looks ruefully at the turf as if to say, oh, I've waited all day for that, and he virtually has. But such is the cruelness sometimes of this game. But it went through for 4. There was no chance of cutting that off again for third man. And another Alan Richardson, yes, I'm sure many a Worcester fan is wondering why Richardson perhaps hasn't come on a bit earlier. They were waiting for the new ball, of course, but Richardson, probably the pick of the bowlers, has bowled really well, and he's coming back on. So a double change.
I thought he bowled extremely well and very tightly this morning.
Yeah, real season campaigner. But one of those individuals, you really want in the team. Real hard fighter and a very reliable bowler. When you call a bowler kind of horses for courses or workhorse, it kind of seems like a criticism. It isn't. It's the other way around. I remember when Martin Bicknell, the great bowler, well, not great bowler, but very, very good bowler, who should have played a lot more for England. I remember he got described when he was brought back up 10 years after his debut Test match for a one-off match, which he helped to win against South Africa back in 2003. He was described as a horses for courses pick, and he came in and took 10 wickets, I think. And most extraordinary. First Test 10 years before, last Test 10 years later. Very odd. Anyway, Richardson bounces in down the leg side. Not a very good ball. Built him up there, and it was beautifully fielded by the keeper, Cox, who dived across and got his hand on that and gets an appreciative round of applause from the crowd.
Ben Cox playing well, I think. Ben?
Yes.
It's only, I think, about his third championship match of the season, so he's putting in quite a commendable performance here. Yeah,
Richardson now is bustling in again, real kind of hop and jump at the end, all arms going and flailing, and that's on off stump and played down by Compton as if to silence the histrionics of the bowler. Quite a melodramatic kind of action, really, kind of arms will wheel round in a big action, but it's what's worked for him, and Compton just played that down in contrast totally correctly, the textbook style, as the sun and it comes over the grounds, the clouds just sort of looming, nothing too threatening though. It gets noticeably darker though as I speak, but just one of those days when the sun's just sort of peeping in and out. As Richardson's in again, and that's on leg stump, played nicely round the corner, nice on drive down to fine leg. They're coming back for 2, they get 2. Nice return by the chap on the boundary, fine leg there, who is I can just make him out, which I can't, but he fielded that well. And number 12 on his back. Harrison, yep. There's Richardson now. Waits again. We've got a mid-off and a mid-on. We've got a square leg, a fine leg. We've got 2 slips. We've got a cover. We've got a backward point. We've got a third man. And they all wait and walk in as Richardson comes in and bowls on off stump. Played nicely again. Totally correctly and beautifully by Compton for no run. And the ground, sort of, as I say, but probably just over half full. It was a wonderful sight in the members earlier on. The carveries were smelling lovely, and Richardson just beckoning to mid-off to give him the ball. He's rubbing it very Cavesi there, just rubbing the ball very intently, trying to get some movement here for Richardson, who comes in and bowls on leg stump, and that's played round the corner but for no run as the sun comes out again. And yes, Richardson, of course, won Cricketer of the Year award, didn't he? Was it last year or the year before? Took a record amount of wickets.
The year before, I think.
Yep.
Yes.
Fine cricketer, interesting journeyman as well, isn't he? Went through a lot of changes of career and nearly gave the game up and everything, but
having a pretty decent season this year too. He's had 53 wickets already in the championship before this game.
In he comes again, and that's on Midland leg and played out towards mid-wicket, who scurries across, but there's no run. And the around here looking very real sight. Capil, of course, ran in there. Wasn't Capil involved in an incident with an umpire this morning? There was some sort of incident when he was bowling, I believe, where he was, or was that right?
Yeah, there was something happened, but it wasn't terribly controversial, I don't think. Nothing like the Kartik one in the in the last game we did, Ben.
I think it was something to do with running on the wicket or something like that. I'm not quite sure because I didn't see it, but there was some discussion about that in the media with whom I was speaking earlier on, as a motorcycle brooms away in the background there. I don't know if you picked that up. It was sounded rather too quick for comfort. Anyway, got a new over now. And the fast man comes in and bowls, and that's short outside the off stump, played nicely by Trescothick off the back foot. Russell there bowling quite wide, but it was played down nicely, but not past D'Oliveira at backward point, who came sharply across, retrieved the ball back to Moeen Ali now at first slip, who just rubs the ball and gets the ball back to Russell, who probably about 80, early 80s perhaps miles an hour, can get the ball up there about 85, I'd say, and that's wide. In fact, it is a wide.
Oh yeah.
Just sort of chucked that one down outside off stump, and that's misfielded by Ben Cox, who seems to have hurt himself.
He seemed to have some sort of an injury there. Yeah.
Yes, he's went to field that wide, but winded himself. But he's up and fine now. But showing fortitude there, just an unlucky slip, I think, and the ball ricocheted away from him, and they were able to sneak a cheeky single there. As the score goes on to 283 for 1. Trescothick 140, Compton on 59. Last wicket was on 153, so these two are put on 130 now, so a fine stand, and one wonders how long it will go on from a Worcestershire perspective, as Russell is in, and that beats him. Lovely delivery outside the off stump, and that was brought Compton forward, and it was a lovely ball and well kept as well. And what's interesting about Russell, he's got a sort of slingy action that's a little bit deceptive. He'll sneak in the odd ball that's noticeably quicker, and the kind of slidey quality to his action, not quite on a Fidel Edwards or Malinga type level, but he's got quite a little slinginess to his action.
A first-rate delivery, that last one.
It was, yes. In comes Russell again, and the bowls, and that's down the leg side though, and nipped away nicely just to alleviate any pressure, which will disappoint the bowler, and they come back for 2 runs. Well run actually by Compton. He immediately started there and off the gears, and great understanding between these two. But there is a mid-off and a mid-on. There's a square leg. There's a mid-wicket. There's two slips. And backward point. It's a fine leg as well. As Russell comes in again, about 2/3 of the way back to the boundary, comes in past the umpire. He bowls, and that's on leg stump and hit away beautifully down to the boundary for 4 runs. That's a lovely stroke again. Just lovely on drive from Compton on his legs. Half volley, meat and drink to him, and on drove it away down on that leg side boundary in front of the Pegasus Apartments for 4 runs. That was a lovely stroke. And
it takes Nick Compton on the 65 now, so
yes, when I'm 65. But yes, he that's all very easy. That's the sort of delivery you dream of as a first ball or something if you haven't played for an absolute age. Something on leg stump, just that you can nibble away. But it was a lovely stroke as he just lifts the bat a little bit, and Russell comes in again, and that's a much better ball on off stump. He'd be disappointed, Will Russell, because he beat Compton with an absolute beauty outside off stump. He's been on a good length for a couple of the other balls, but the other deliveries have been a bit wayward, particularly down the leg side, and that will sort of disappoint him. It's the consistency he'll be looking to work on, I would guess, in this spell. But Richardson, far more on the money kind of bowler. But there's a mid-off, as I say, mid-on, 2 slips who crouch expectantly. Moeen Ali there at first slip as Russell comes in and again on leg stump and play beautifully away for another 4 runs. That hits the boundary boards as I speak. Lovely stroke. Just, again, poor delivery on the legs, and Compton just sort of has them for breakfast, really. Just hit it away, all timing, all poise, balance, head over the ball. Lovely shot, 4 runs.
All those things, Ben, and the other interesting factor at this point too is that the pace is quickening. We've had 67 runs since lunch now in just 60 minutes. So
yes. That
was certainly not the sort of pace of the pre-lunch period, in the morning period.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. It's was a kind of closer tussle than you'd think this morning, because there wasn't the wickets. Somerset had to struggle for the runs a little bit. But yes, these two, as I said earlier on, probably looking to force the pace.
Indeed. And well deserved.
Fine over. And yes, it's interesting. These two bowlers can sort of complement each other quite nicely in a sense, because both are kind of vying for that all-important wicket. But in all honesty, out of the two of them, Russell, he's one of those bowlers you feel that could come up with a sort of magic ball and get a wicket and get the results that Richardson has produced, in a sense, because Richardson probably will apply the pressure of dot balls and beating the bat. It's one of those great anomalies of cricket that's why I suppose it's described as a team game, because sometimes bowlers, don't. It's, I suppose, a typical example looking back in the archives from years ago. I suppose Mike Hendrick would sort of build up the pressure, or Chris Old, and then both of them would take the wicket. Not that both of them wasn't a great bowler, he was, but you know what I mean.
Indeed. Chris Russell to Nick Compton. Nick gets over that one. No run there. If you go back even further to the Truman and Statham era, that was another sort of similar-ish kind of situation. Not quite the same, but Statham's extreme accuracy all the time. Meant they took a few more chances with Fred.
It's funny, with the great West Indies attack of the 80s, you've kind of felt each one of them was always going to take wickets, so you can't really come up with an anomaly comparison there, can you? But Russell, you often find them.
Russell and Nick Compton.
Oh, that's a quick one.
Good delivery, good and quick, but Nick tucks that one round towards fine leg, where they take a single, throws it back into the wicketkeeper, who didn't quite know what happened. He didn't catch it cleanly there, did he?
Isn't he? Yeah, he kind of ricocheted off of him again, kind of keeps getting unlucky bounce where the ball kind of bounces straight in front of him, and he's having to try and get his hands under the ball, can't quite get to.
I don't think he was terribly happy with the throw, actually.
No, the worst thought, aren't
he
they?
looked a bit disapprovingly out towards the towards the boundary there.
Yeah, indeed.
Chris Russell in again, this time to Marcus Trescothick. That one down towards third man, where they take a single, which takes Somerset on to 297, Marcus on to 142, and Nick Compton is on 71.
They're just all chuckling to my right, because Cox had the luxury of having a ball that was returned to him properly without it bouncing him irritatingly in front of him and nearly hitting him. That one was slap bang into the gloves, and got a few chuckles of irony from the
Russell
on our right.
Over the wicket.
Oh, cracking ball.
It was a good one.
Outside the off stump, just nibbled at that. It was a kind of waft, wasn't it, from Compton?
No run there, but it was a cracking good delivery, as Ben said.
Oh, is that overthrows? No. I thought mid-off, he's lost the ball there.
Yes, just the sort of passing around between the field there, but he missed the throw.
Yes, quite. Wasn't a chance of a wicket, but it was kind of just spat off the pitch a little bit. And
anyway, here's the last one of the over coming in. Alan Richardson to Marcus Trescott.
Get the covers on.
Yes, it's unlucky. Just we've been so far this session incredibly fortunate. It's been a good, not only a good session for Somerset, but weather-wise, we had some rain come in just kind of before the lunch break was about to happen anyway, so it didn't really affect things. And any rain that fell was only for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then we more or less started up slightly earlier after lunch and after an early lunch. But yes, the covers are just coming out. Just to describe to listeners, the players all made a swift exit. It's a bit hard to see from. Oh yes, it is actually quite driving rain at the moment. It came in very, very quickly, just as Harry was coming onto the mic there. Literally in a matter of seconds, the rain came in. It's one of those days when you're getting rain come in very briefly, almost like a bit like what you get when you get April showers. Of course, it's far from April at the moment, but it literally comes in very quickly and hopefully departs very quickly with any luck, because it's been engrossing afternoon's play, hasn't it, Harry? It's been absorbing, and that's not not to say it's been uneventful. There's been some nice strokes, particularly an adventurous reverse sweep by Compton, and a glorious straight six by Compton as well. But there's been a few beatings of the bat by Richardson. I think Richardson's probably been the pick of the bowlers for Worcestershire.
Yeah, one of the best of the 8 bowlers for Worcestershire. Yeah. Interestingly, it shows
8 bowlers.
How far they've struggled against the Somerset attack.
It does.
Using many players who you describe as batsmen, really.
Yes,
had to come and have a bowl, but Richardson was looking rather threatening.
Yes.
And Russell, apart from the couple that strayed onto the pads, which Compton dispatched to the boundary, Russell did have a couple of threatening balls, which did just slightly worry Trescothick and Compton. But
yeah, Russell was interesting because he was just, as we were saying, he just sort of teased the batsman and got Compton playing a few uncharacteristic wafts outside the off stump, and but he was quite a penetrative bowler, you feel, that could take a wicket, sort of the odd magic delivery, and was really making the ball rear occasionally. And Richardson was much more someone to rely on. He's bowling on a very good spot, that corridor of uncertainty outside the off stump, and occasionally beating the bat as well. But probably, most certainly the less expensive of the two. In terms of statistics for this particular match thus far, in terms of the scorecard, Trescothick, of course, not out 142. Sapphire was caught and bowled alley for 75. Compton not out 71. 1 6 and 4 fours for Compton. Trescothick 19 fours. Richardson 23 overs, 8 maidens, 0 for 49, and an economy rate of 2.13. Harry.
Yes, he's bowled superbly, I think, Richardson, especially this second spell. It's been interesting to see him come back with the new ball. Him and Russell came back together, didn't they?
Yes, and in contrast, Russell, despite having the odd delivery that was absolute magic, so there's obviously ability there, but his 7 overs have gone for nearly 8 and over. His runs are up to 55 now for those 7 overs, which is surprising. Looking at him, you wouldn't have thought he was quite that expensive, but there you go.
That's almost 1 day, but 8 and over.
It just shows you, doesn't it?
Yes.
You wouldn't have guessed that, would you, really?
No.
Because you thought it was a little bit expensive, but not
he did have
as expensive as that, but there you go.
There was a big over about 5 overs ago when he was hit for 2 fours by Compton through the leg side and a few singles as well.
Yeah.
With the rains coming down a bit harder now, actually.
Yeah, the ground staff are sort of trudging towards us with a forlorn kind of well-trodden path, really. They've had to endure these Groundhog Day, isn't it, really? This summer's been a very wet summer indeed.
They certainly got their fitness in this summer.
Yes.
On and off with the covers and
quite.
Them,
well, there won't be much work for our commentary friend Julian Catternack this afternoon then. He's just disappeared, no doubt getting some, trying to get out of this rain as the covers are brought out. And yes, there's a huge cover being brought out now, and it's been, as I say, an engrossing day's play. The rest of the bowling figures: Harrison 2 overs, no maidens, 0 for 14, went at 7 and over, took himself off. Ali 27 overs, 5 maidens, 1 for 71, 2.5 and over. Now, you probably say that he and Richardson were the best bowlers, because I thought Moeen Ali was quite intelligent in his field placings and a lot of leg slips, a lot of variations.
But of course he didn't need those fielders. He got the caught and bowled himself, got Sapphire out for 75.
Yes.
The only wicket to fall for Somerset today.
Yes, and D'Oliveira 16 overs, 1 maiden, 0 for 69, about 4.5 and over. Kapil 5 overs for only 2.5, 13 runs. Slight problem with running through onto the wicket, I believe. Pinner, I've got a comment from the umpire. I'm not sure if it was an official warning or not, but Pinner, 4 overs, no maidens, 0 for 13. Mitchell, 2 overs, no maidens, 0 for 7. So Worcestershire, just 8 bowlers there, kind of tell a story. Didn't really have any answers. In summary, Somerset's afternoon, Somerset's day really. We'll look to hopefully wrap this one up. I would have thought they're in a very confident position. Yeah. It's just a question of really getting back out there, piling on the runs. And if Rahman can get out of this pitch what he did in the first innings, then who's to know? The rain is kind of coming and going, so you're never quite sure what's happening. I should doubt that this match will be ended by rain. I should think there'll be a result. So it's just when really. I mean, do you think that we could wrap it up in
I was interested
before Friday, or?
Well, I think if the weather holds off, that is definitely a possibility. It'll be interesting to see how far Somerset go before the declaration. Really, whether. Well, I guess Trescothick and Compton may tee off a bit later this evening.
Yes.
I'm not sure if they'll. It depends on the weather, of course, but whether they'll wait till after tea or.
Yeah.
But they would hope, I suppose, that they can get enough runs in this innings so that they won't have to bat again. They bowl Worcestershire out to win the match.
Yeah, win by an innings. Yeah, absolutely.
Would be terrific.
Indeed,
that's certainly possible.
Yes.
Somerset on 5 points already, and Worcestershire only got the 1.
Well, as I said earlier, I mean, Trigo, his wicket was symbolic. I mean, he's 49 wickets now, and really, it was probably the only time I've ever been slightly disappointed he got the wicket, because I was hoping that Rahman would get all 10, because that really would have been extraordinary. I know Otis Gibson, I think, was the West Indies coach. I think was the last person I can remember getting all 10. I'm sure he did when a few years ago, not that long ago now. It's about six or 7 years ago. That was the year he took that hat trick. In the Lord's final as well, and I remember thinking at the time the West Indies were over here touring, and I remember thinking they could do worse than giving him a call and getting him back in the team. He only played about 2 test matches. Crazy.
Terrifically for Abdurrahman is that he's got the best figures of the LB Championship Division 1.
Wow.
Graham Onions picked up 9 for 65. No, 9 for 67, sorry. Rahman got 9 for 65.
Yes.
No, but Rahman, best figures of the season, so that's brilliant.
Wow.
Out of everyone.
Well,
and his career best figures, of course.
Yeah, fantastic. That's what we were wondering earlier on. As the rain now really seriously comes down. It's deluge stopped play now. It's absolutely bucketing down, cats and dogs, as they say. It's really bouncing off of the top of the commentary box, no doubt. There's 4 ground staff, just men in black to my right, just as a result. Early tea. 2:40 and 3 p.m. Intelligent use of a tea interval, if ever there was one, because it's absolutely bucketing it down now.
Yeah, the only people left outside are with umbrellas. There aren't many people braving it. Most people are going for a bit of shelter, and especially now it's a tea interval.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, look, it's been lovely chatting to you, Harry. Thank you so much for your insightful comments. Really interesting to get different points of view on a day's play like this. And Somerset, as we said, looking to press for advantage and perhaps even win by an innings. It's a great position to be in. Whether this is the end of play for today, I would hope not. It's raining very, very hard at the moment. But they do wonderful things these days with soppers and covers and things, so you'd hope that play will resume. It's one of those stop-start, sunny, rainy days, so perhaps it's going to take, I would have thought, at least a good half an hour to an hour of dry wind to dry it out, because it's been very heavy, the rain, so we'll hope for some more play today. But let's hope it's not an end to proceedings. What do you think, Chris?
I think that's a fair observation, Ben. I think there will be a bit more play today. That's a personal opinion. The rain seems to be just slightly easing a bit now.
Yeah.
So, but I agree with you. It's going to take a little while to just sort of get the surface dried off again. Yeah. I think the afternoon, the score moved along at a faster pace than it was in the morning session. slightly eased before the enforced break there.
Yes, yes.
But nonetheless, Somerset have now moved into a position where they're 85 runs ahead. They're moving steadily. If we can get a full third session in, that's 120 minutes, isn't it? It could take us, if they start sort of moving a bit more briskly after the break, as I think might happen, then that could take us to somewhere like, a 200 lead at the close.
Well, from Worcester's point of view, I mean, Hughes and Cavesi were the only players that looked like they were going to get any kind of score with 42 and 40 respectively.
Indeed.
So there'll be a lot of hopes resting on them and some of the other batsmen to sort of step up to the plate and produce a performance perhaps a bit more befitting of this wicket. Not that it's an easy batting wicket, but it doesn't look like it's terribly hard to play on. But then Rahman is one of these wonderful Pakistani mystery spinners, isn't he? He's got this magical ability going back to Abdul Qadir and even further back through history. They seem to have worked wonders.
And I do agree with you, Ben. I think it's a game where we're going to see a result, all right. Don't forget, we're not even at the end of day 2 yet. At least we're pretty sure we're not.
No.
The rain has certainly eased off now. But Somerset have got a decent lead here, and even if the Somerset innings, even if it went on to say lunchtime or a bit later tomorrow, and I believe tomorrow's weather forecast is a bit better than today's.
I've heard
then it still leaves a day and a half to have a crack at Worcestershire again. So I think Somerset are building up that lead nice and steadily into a very commanding one.
Well, it could be a 3-day win or at least 4 days, who knows. Oh, well, I guess we better sign off for now, Chris, because I guess tea is imminent. It's a few minutes away. So, it's been a pleasure to commentate this afternoon. Been an interesting afternoon's play, and one that will stick in the memory for Trescothick's innings and Compton's fluency. But
they both must be pleased with their performances in this innings. Nick just back from his injury. It's the first century that Marcus has got in the championship since his even worse injury, much worse injury, and it must be very satisfying for him. So all in all, it's been a pretty good day for Somerset. Steady but very good.
Nearly 300 for one, and Worcestershire really having to work for the one wicket they've got. So in terms of positives for them, bowled dreadfully. There's been some good bowling from Richardson, good bowling from Ali. I think they'll probably just be having a chat now behind the scenes to get the consistency going with the other bowlers, particularly Russell.
I was only thinking just moments before that sudden break there, Ben. We were only just, as you say, 3 runs off of another batting point too. So that should come pretty quick when we get back out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, second place in the championship, is it still a possibility for Somerset? Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's there's an awful lot to play for. Somerset have done so well under Brian Rose. It's been an incredible tenure with him at the top, and part of that great team back in the days of Viv Richards and Joel Garner, and he really has been a wonderful asset. Well, he's led the club magnificently, and we know that at the end of this match there'll be a presentation to him, thanking him, and he's just been absolutely fantastic, and he's ushered in almost a sort of new era. There's been some wonderful moments. We've arguably competed as well, if not better than any of the counties out there. I mean, not many counties will have got to all the finals that we have so consistently, and so nearly won championships as many times as we have. We have got very close. I know that the holy grail of the championship hasn't been achieved, but at the same time he's done some wonderful things.
Absolutely, Ben. I think we should all record our appreciation of all he's done for Somerset cricket as a player, and of course since he became a captain, of course, and as director of cricket. A man who will stand out in the Somerset
Hall of Fame.
Yes, indeed.
Well, it's interesting to think, who else could come in his place, and we were discussing privately earlier on whether there was perhaps another member of that great 70s, 80s team that could come in, but you can't really get a like-for-like replacement. I don't know, we'll have to see. It's be interesting few months to see who's decided on, as the covers come off actually as we speak, but interesting time for Nick Compton as well. A lot of changes going on, as I said on air earlier on. You know, he may well go on the tour of India. And of course, Somerset do have a number of players that came in when he was injured. You know, Durston Jones, all these different guys. So there's a lot of choices out there, a lot of interesting young talent. So we'll see. It's a very interesting transitionary period for the club. Awful lot of exciting youngsters coming through, like the Overton twins, fresh from their experiences at the Under-19 World Cup. You've got Dockrell, of course, has been even talked of as a potential captain. So there's lots to be excited about over the next few years. And it's sad that Brian is going. I must admit, wish he could have just stayed on another year, just with this period that we're in at the moment. But yeah, onwards and upwards, and we'll see what's around the corner.
You sort of sense it's only a matter of time now, don't you? But I just hope it comes very soon.
Yes, yeah, quite. Okay.
I think we've got, is it Jane Hamlin following us?
Yes, indeed, yes.
And I'm not sure who's with Jane.
I'm not either, I shall.
But anyway, they'll be here with us as soon as play gets going again.
Yeah, which is due to be about 3 o'clock. It's 20 to 3
I guess
moment,
so.
Yeah, they said 2:40 until 3 o'clock. So
indeed. And with the look of it out now, even the sun's starting to show a glimmer. So I reckon they might even get going at 3 o'clock, you know.
Yeah.
If it doesn't rain again.
Yeah, I'm remembering that day back in, I think it was June, when the rain came in like earlier on, and it literally just didn't stop. It just kept torrentially raining ad infinitum. There was no chance of any play, but thankfully, like you said, it was only a sort of 5-10 minute shower, and they are in fact shaking off the covers. So yes, there's
they're optimistic.
There's positive action afoot here. They're just pulling it off. So it's all looking hopeful and good. So. And indeed, as the Tannoy announcer explains exactly what we were just talking about Brian Rose, actually, and the special post-match event that's happening as well, which there's going to be a presentation in front of the Andrew Caddick Pavilion, he's saying. So that will be a nice chance for supporters to show their appreciation.
Indeed, I imagine a lot of people will stay behind for that. Certainly I should be staying and going over there to see what's happening.
Yeah, they're going to have a formal drink and a chat with him as well in front of the Colin Atkinson. That'd be nice for everyone to hear his feedback and thoughts on his time in charge, and that'd be fascinating. I know he's been was it himself? I think it was Brian that Rose that was out in South Africa when no, it must have been New Zealand. I'm trying to remember. You know when Vernon Philander took all those wickets in one of his first Test matches, and I think it was against Australia. That was it. And he was out in South Africa, and he was going to see Peter Siddle as a possible signing for the club. But I think, and he saw the way that Vernon Philander bowled, and he thought, no, we've got to have him. And what a great signing that was!
What a great signing it was! Well, I think the best bit of fast bowling we've had here since the Andy Caddick heyday, and that's not being disrespectful to some of the good ones that we have had here, but it was some tremendous bowling. It only lasted for 4 games, was it? 5 games, but it was good. But
got off the plane and straight here, and no time to recover, and he was straight on the money, almost like Malcolm Marshall reminds me slightly.
Yeah. But I mean, to bring us right up to date, this we're just getting an announcement. Oh no, it's a committee announcement. But don't forget, of course, the recent signing of Abdur Rahman, who looks like a superb signing again. Another one of the wonderful bits of Brian inspiration there.
Yeah, fantastic. Just what a club needs.
Indeed.
Well, we're going to leave you then, and we will be back on at 3 o'clock. It's been lovely. I hope you've enjoyed our commentary this afternoon. It's been a fascinating afternoon's play, really engrossing stuff. And for myself, Ben Manning and Chris Stone and Harry, who's helped and assisted us magnificently.
Thank you, Harry.
We shall bid you adieu and hope that you do tune in after the tea break. We'll be back in about a quarter of an hour's time, around 3 o'clock. We're due to be back for the post-tea evening session, and I hope you all enjoy listening to it. Hope the weather stays fine. But from Chris Stone and myself, Ben Manning, it's good afternoon to you. Goodbye.
Good afternoon.